Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead again. On our porch time today, we are actually filming several days early. We got heavy rain moving in here in the next few minutes, so I've got to get this done kind of quick this morning. Fixing to turn bitter cold again. And heavy rain and heavy weather, so seems like every time I get ready to want to do a porch time, this is what happens. Now, the subject today is going to be somewhat different, and I really don't know how I'm going to name this one yet, so you'll just have to bear with me. I've just been given some information about some things that I feel like are important, and I've always told you that when I get this information, I will give it to you. There's all the big hype out there right now about genetically modified seeds and genetically modified crops, which is justly so, because they are damaging to the human system and to animals' systems also. They tamper with the digestive tracts, they tamper with the organ functions of the body, whether it be from the heart to the brain to the kidneys to the livers, the gut, all this stuff. They affect all these things in the human body. This is why our food system today is so toxic. But understand that GMOs are failing. They're failing worldwide. And there's also the knowledge out there that people have now that they exist. And the GMO companies are very much aware of this. So what they've done now is they've come up with a new technology called CRISPR, where they're not, I don't know a tremendous amount about it. Let me say that right off the bat. I'm new into this. It's a new technology. But they are not splicing genes supposedly like they were with the genetically modified stuff. They're actually pulling stuff from the seeds and the plants and really tampering with it in another way so as to get around not having to use the word genetically modified. They are genetically engineered, based on what I understand. They're still just as damaging. They're just getting around having to label something as being GMO. So guys, it's just another way that they're coming at us, trying to attack us through the food system by using something that has been alternated and is not an heirloom type seed. Now, there is an agenda going on right now, and this is not the only thing that I want to talk to you about. This is just part of this on this particular subject, and that's why it was so hard for me to actually come up with a name. And I may come up with a name before this video is actually aired. The other thing is, you know, we're talking about the coming mini ice age. We talked about that in the last porch time. I talked about it on All God's Children, my other channel. There's actually more behind this than what I actually realized. I'm getting tons of information in from areas that some of it's probably true, some of it's probably not. I mean, you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But I can see some wisdom in some of it. The global warming thing was the big hype here for many years with Al Gore and the book he wrote, and because the summers were getting so hot and everything, everybody was, there was really this push for carbon credits to be sold, for people who are putting a lot of emissions into the atmosphere. It's a way for governments to make money, and basically, if you just want to be honest about it. But guys, there was more to it than that. Wow, it's amazing some of the things that you find out later down the road. See, the governments have known for quite some time, what I've been able to find out, about these grand solar minimums, the fact that the sun wasn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. Science was giving governments all this information. And now that the global warming thing doesn't seem like it's been as big of a success as the governments had hoped, they are actually finding out that this solar minimum thing may actually come to fruition. So understand that one of the things that's not wanted is for people to be self-sustainable. They don't want the population that we have today. There's too many people for the amount of resources that's left. There's a depopulation agenda going on through the use of vaccines and just through I could sit here and go into multiple things, but I don't have the time, and this is not the video for it. But there is the capitalization today on this solar minimum and grand solar minimum, mini ice age stuff that's going on. I've received some information that since the grand solar minimum is about to begin taking place, and this is all due to atmospheric changes, this is due to climate change, really more than anything else. The planets are doing different things. The Earth is off of its axis just a little bit. It's really a natural thing that happens every so often throughout the Earth's history. It's not so much man-made as it is the Earth doing what it does. It's just that man realizes that now, and because man is exceedingly wicked, man is capitalizing on it, and man is actually tampering with it to help it now. We see, there's a lot of people out there that say chemtrails. Chemtrails are not real, some people say. Oh, they're just, they're contrails. Well, there's a difference between a contrail and a chemtrail. A contrail is due to atmospheric changes from heat and condensation forms, and planes carry they say it's between a 3 to 12 mile stream behind them that's, that's where the air changes, and once the plane's out of that, it just dissipates, which is completely harmless. But when you have something that goes from horizon to horizon, leaving something that doesn't go away and it lasts all day and gets wider in the atmosphere, yeah, that's a chemtrail. And it's proven that chemtrails were used by the military many years ago, way back into the early 90s and stuff, and even earlier than that, to move nuclear weapons around. They've sprayed aluminum in the atmosphere to screw with satellite projections and stuff from the Earth to outer space. And it is a big time issue now. If man can control the weather, he can control the population. So we see that through the use of geoengineering now, climate change can be a big thing. Because we're going into a grand solar minimum, or a solar minimum again, guys, chemtrails has become a big deal. Because if you can spray the atmosphere and keep the sun from shining through as brightly as it should, then you can make this thing happen faster and on a heavier scale than it normally would. And at the same time, if you could use a virus in these chemtrails that would give people the flu or some other sort of respiratory illnesses, or some sort of nanoparticle technology that would get into the body's bloodstream, then you can cause a lot of people to get sick, and then only the strong would survive. Which would be a way to depopulate the Earth, and it looked natural. So, am I a tinfoil hat guy? No, I'm not a tinfoil hat guy. Do I believe that there are certain agendas taking place? Yes, I do believe that, because the Bible tells me that man's heart is exceedingly wicked above all things, and man is always looking at ways to control things, especially governments. Now, guys, when this solar minimum thing begins to happen, which I believe it has this year, it's proven to me this year it's already starting to happen, then if man can tamper with that enough to make this come about and make it look like it's all natural, then man can profit from it. Because with these solar minimums, see what happens is the Earth and climate change begins to take place. We have more earthquakes, we have more volcanic activity, and with volcanoes spraying ash into the air, it naturally blocks out the sun's rays, which causes a cooling effect. And if you can put chemtrails up there with that, and then add any type of chemical in with it to make the climate change to be even colder, faster, for longer periods of time, then man will do that. And I believe that's exactly what's happening. I believe we're going into a situation where I've been noticing here now, I can almost predict chemtrails now. Wanda and I have gotten to where we know probably by looking at the weather, we know when we're going to get the most chemtrails here. And it has proven to be accurate so far. And what they're doing where we live at is on the bright sunny days ahead of fronts that are fixing to come in and dump lots of rain, they're spraying the sky full of these chemtrails so that the rain brings it down to earth. And then it gets cloudy and you think that these are the clouds forming ahead of a moving front coming in. And, you know, when the rain comes, it brings it to the earth and it pollutes the earth. And this is nothing more than things that are happening in biblical times where it says that the earth is going through birthing pains. The earth is crying out to God because of what man is doing to it. Man is tampering with the climate during these solar minimums because he's wanting to profit from it. Man is also wanting to make other mankind sick where they can depopulate the earth. Plus it's big money for pharma. Not only that, because of the climate change, the seed companies are realizing that they've got to come up with different types of seed to be able to withstand what's going to happen. Because you see, if they can make the earth get colder in the northern hemisphere for longer periods of time, and it doesn't warm up during the summer months, then they can cut out a lot of the growing season for these climates, thus making food shortages. And when there's food shortages, there's famines, and when there's famines, there's droughts and pestilences. All these things go hand in hand, which was promised to us in the book of Matthew. And the Olivet Discourse there we see, these are things that are going to happen, God said. Now, these are not things that are have not already been known about. We've been told about these things through Scripture. It's just us, guys, we've got to figure out ways to live through this stuff. Colloidal silver is a fantastic way. It's a great antimicrobial. It's a great antibiotic. You might want to look into that. We have some videos on that, on how to make silver machines and stuff to make your own colloidal silver at home to stay healthy. Guys, with the viruses that are being put out there and the flus and the adjuvants that are added to the vaccines now, many of the vaccines they're not even for the flu strain we have now. The damaging part from these mainly come from the adjuvants that are used in them, the heavy metals that pass through the bloodstream and can go past the blood-brain barrier into the brain, can cause all kinds of damage, organ damage, and things like this. There's so many things that we have to be aware of today. Wanda and I do not believe in taking vaccines. We do not believe in the flu vaccines. We don't believe in any of this stuff. We see what is being done to the population. Now, another thing, let me mention that the government we talked about a while ago does not want us to be self-sustaining, is that the government realizes that there is more and more people out there going to solar power to cut down on the use of electricity and stuff like this, and which is a good thing. But understand this: solar power only works if there's abundant sunshine. It has been realized, and this has been brought to my attention, that through the use of heavy spraying of chemtrails, through the coming solar minimums, through volcanic ash maybe getting into the atmosphere from eruptions and stuff like that, there's going to be less sun out there making us colder, which means, and the government is capitalizing on this by spraying more chemtrails to cause your solar panels not to work. Because there's things that will happen if you do not go out, even if it's a sunny day, if you do not go out and clean your solar panels on a regular basis, there is a film from these chemtrails that can get on these solar panels that causes them to actually not produce the amount of electricity that's needed to charge your battery banks. So we see that even solar systems are being targeted. Now, guys, this video is not meant for scare tactics. This video is meant for informational purposes only. This video is intended, this is why I do Porch Time. Porch Time is set up and designed to spread news about things that we find out that's coming on, and to actually talk about things that can help us survive coming things in this world. Now, if y'all saw my video a couple of days ago about living off the land, you realize I talked about how wood is one of the things that gets overlooked so many times as the resources of wood. We talk about food storage, food storage, food storage, but if you have no way to cook anything, you're still no better off. Now, can any one person prepare for everything? No. But guys, wood, even if you have, people are contacting me saying, but Danny, I live in town, I live in trailer parks, I live in neighborhoods, there's no trees, what am I supposed to do? And guys, this is the bottom line. Anywhere you look, even if somewhere around, there's usually trees within so many distances of somewhere. I mean, trees have limbs that fall out. There are bushes. People plant bushes. There are always some kind of sticks laying around somewhere. My advice to you is, if you don't live where you can get to anything like this, is to get you some sort of cooking system that uses small sticks, like some sort of a rocket stove. Silver Fox makes some. There's different types of rocket stoves out there. You can make your own homemade. I have a video on making homemade rocket stoves. We have the blueprints for it up. You know, so if you need to know how to make your own, you can do it. Very cheap, $50 or less. You can build one. I would advise you to get you some sort of system to cook, where you just use minute amounts of sticks to cook with, because without some heat source, it's tough to make it during the winter months. And so, guys, this is this is what Porch Time is about today. Porch Time is about the waking up of people about some of the things that's going on in this country, when we're being attacked from all sides, and yet it's being made to look like it's the natural way or the natural course of events that man is facing, and that no one is responsible but nature. And guys, nature is responsible for some of the things that's happening, but man is also tampering with a lot of it for his own profit. So let's be wise, and let's keep our eyes open to the skies, because you see, we are the only civilization today that does not get our information from the heavens. I did not realize that till I began doing some research into the ancient ways. All ancient civilizations looked to the stars and looked to the heavens. Now, they were not into astrology as far as tarot card reading and all this kind of stuff. They knew that the stars and the planets determined their climates. That's why they looked in that direction. Even the ancient Jewish temples had the zodiac in the floor of the temple, because they realized that their weather depended on what went on in the heavens and the stars. In Genesis, God said, I've given you the stars in the heavens for signs and for seasons. God intended for us to use them that way, not for astrology. So guys, we are the only civilization today that has not looked to the planets and the stars for our existence. And because we don't, we've lost the ancient art of telling what's coming. But guys, there are scientists out there who still know this technology, and they're using it for the benefit of governments and nations. I think it's time for us as people to wake up and to realize that the heavens and the stars are not just for astrology, but they're for our literal survival. And let's learn what they mean, and let's learn how to use them to our benefit and our survivability rather than our demise. So looking to the heavens for the answers. That's where we need to be, guys. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.